Wow. Hello, welcome back to some One Piece. Today, we're gonna be looking at my physical collection of One Piece cards, mostly because I want to do something One Piece related on the channel, but it has that hasn't come to my attention. But you know, it's obvious that, you know, I'm not playing online games. I'm not playing on the simulator. I don't have any intentions of, you know, playing games on the simulator, but I do want to do One Piece content, and part of what I like to do is build decks. I love the One Piece decks in this game. It's just a great piece of memorability. I've said this in the past before, but I feel like the TCG, if you're a fan of just One Piece media in general, you're probably going to be a fan of the TCG just solely because you're going to get fan art, or you're going to get art of characters that just don't get art at all. Like, you'll get art of Wu Slap, you'll get art of Wapple, you'll get art of Kaya Yu. There are so many characters in the world of One Piece that it's hard for a fan to focus in on something that they specifically like. Like, obviously there are going to be people who have like Luffy shrines, there are going to be people who have like Nami shrines, stuff like that. But to encompass the entirety of the One Piece franchise, I think the starter decks, or I think the cards of the One Piece card game are the best form of that. So with that in mind, I will quickly show you. Actually, I have one more deck. You thought that was it? It wasn't. As you can see, I tend to have a favorite. But yeah, so I'm going to quickly just, you know, give some quick disclaimers. Out of the 7 decks you're seeing right now, only 3 of them are going to stay in rotation. The other 4 are going to be out of rotation. They're going to be going into the Eternal format whenever that does show up. Primarily, it's going to be it's going to be Crocodile, Nami, and Emu. These are the 3 decks that are staying in rotation. These 4 up here are going to the Eternal format. These aren't getting rotated, or I'm not rotating them. They're going to be out of standard. They're not going to be legal decks to play in tournaments and stuff like that. Primarily, the main reason for that is because this is like my pet deck. You know, this is a Yamato deck, so it's going to have every Yamato card I can get my hands on, or that I want in the deck, is going to be in this deck. Other than that, we have Buggy. As far as like Buggy's concerned, they made a starter deck for Buggy, but beyond that, all the support they printed after that starter deck has like not been as good as what I already have built. The Luffy deck, this is not a Straw Hat deck, but they are printing new Straw Hat cards in the future. But this is a traditional Navy list, so mono black cost removal Navy list. And it's even more out of rotation because I decided to add in the Ice Ages, which are technically going to get unbanned, but they're getting unbanned with the rotations. So I'm just preemptively putting them into the list so I have them. And then this is the pudding list. This is just a personal preference. I really like the ramp to 10 drop Big Mom, and because 10 drop Big Mom is not going to get brought into the new rotation, I'm just deciding to leave this deck out of rotation because this playstyle is so much fun to me. I really like the 9 drop Katakuri. I like the 8 drop Katakuri that like removes a character into life. I like the 10 drop Big Mom in this deck, and I think the deck synergizes so well that it's just like, you know, brain empty, just 10 mom, 10 mom, 10 mom, very similar to a certain someone. So you can definitely tell I have a preference for types of decks. But other than that, these are the only 3 that are staying in rotation. I'm not even sure. Her days might be numbered because keeping this deck in rotation, keeping it up to date, is quite a task, or like financially quite a task, because it feels like every set they're making something useful for Nami, or for something useful in blue or something useful in yellow, and Nami can generically just take advantage of that. Obviously, being a Straw Hat also helps with that as well. So I think for the sake of the stream, I'm gonna do the extended format decks up here. I'll be doing the Eternal decks first, and then we'll go into the standard ones, because the standard ones are basically what you expect. Like Crocodile, you already know what Crocodile is gonna be doing. You know what Emu's gonna be doing, and the Nami's probably the only one where it's like you probably won't be able to guess what the Nami's trying to do. So with that in mind, let me actually, no, yeah, we should be okay. We're probably gonna start with Buggy, just because, actually, we should probably start with Pudding and then work our way up to the Yamato, because the Pudding is not alted out. these two are more or less alted out. They're not fully alted out. Well, no, yeah. They're not fully alted out, but they do have the majority like upgraded cards. And we'll slowly work our way over to the Yamato. Same thing with Yamato, by the way. Yamato is also not fully alted out. You know, obviously there are cards that I just don't want to upgrade. As a quick thing, this is basically going to be the same for all these decks except, you know, the Yamato and Nami. But they're all running a Mage Tech deck box, which I like because it just has a display window. Granted, there's no way to protect the leader. You know, it's just a hole in the deck. So because of that, and I will try to keep my face out of the reflection of this, just because whenever I show my face at this angle, it's always like a horrible representation of my face. Like I'm not a 10 out of 10, but the reflection doesn't do me any justice here. But yeah, every leader, as far as I'm aware, is going to be in one of these Gamegenic hard cases. So that's just primarily just to keep the leader safe, you know, when you're going out playing these decks, and when you have them in cases like this where they're just exposed. Obviously they're going to be dividers. Some of them have different dividers, which we'll talk about later. And the majority of my decks are going to be in just Dragon Shield sleeves with innards. I think like some kind of perfect fit. I forget the name of the brand. I think it's like KMC, but I'm pretty sure they're just perfect fit. So they'll either be in clears, or they'll be in like a custom art Dragon Shield, or they'll be in some kind of colored Dragon Shield. So that's pretty much the layout for all the decks. There'll be some exceptions, which I mean, obviously we'll talk about when they come up. But yeah, we'll go ahead and just get started. And let's see. I'm excited because I can do this annually. You know, I think very similar to like my Magic the Gathering streams. I think like once a year I'll come back on with the camera and I'll just show you what decks are currently I'm playing and what decks are still put together and all this stuff. So this will probably be like a once a year thing where I just show you the physical collection, make sure this is all cleaned up. So there you go. Actually, why are you so dirty? Yeah. What's that? No, is that underneath the, oh, that's under the acrylic. Oh, that's fun. Don't you love it when dust gets underneath your, or I guess, I don't know, some kind of dandruff or something gets underneath the card. Well, regardless, I'll cover it with my thumb because I'm sure that looks better. Anyways, this is Charlotte Pudding. 4 life, 5k power, purple yellow, and when attacking, you may turn 2 cards from the top of your life face up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So just turbo ramp. This deck is primarily just ramping as fast as you can to 10 drop Big Mom. It is extraordinarily fun. It's a very fun synergy deck, especially with the way I have it built. I like the way I have it built, where I'll show you in a minute why, but either way, we'll start with the Searcher. This is the Charlotte Pudding Searcher. It is a look at the top 5, reveal 1 Big Mom Pirate card with the cost of 2 or more, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest of your bottom of your deck. Activate main, Dawn -1, you may rest this character. Look it up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's deck. Obviously, primarily meant for the Katakuri, the second part at least. The first part is just a generic Searcher. A little unfortunate that it's only the cost 2 or more, so basically means that this is not searchable in the deck, even though it is a Big Mom. But because of the way Pudding works, you flip the top 2 cards of your life. So if one of the 2 cards stays flipped up, you can't use your ramp ability, no matter how much you heal or, you know, how diligent you are at taking life. So that's primarily what this is for. The Charlotte Flambe is a 1-drop 1k power, 2k counter. On play, you may add 1 card from the top of your deck to your life and then draw 1 card. So this is basically a draw 2, take 1 damage. And primarily why we're running this is because we want to take one of the 2 flipped cards in our life fairly early so that we could potentially ramp twice with this. You know, obviously between 2 turns, but we're still trying to ramp pretty consistently with this. And then our next one, once we start getting the searchable things, is Charlotte Katakuri. This is a 2 cost, 3k power, 1k counter, activate main. You may trash this character if your leader has Big Mom Pirates type. Play up to 1 Charlotte Katakuri from your hand with the cost of 3 or more that is equal to or less than the number of Dawn cards on your opponent's field. I'm running this at 2. Some people run it at like 4 or more. We're good. And the main reason why I'm running it at 2 is because it's slightly slower than the 7-drop Pudding in the deck. And arguably the 7-drop Pudding obviously is going to be slightly better because I think it's like a super rare, whereas this is I think like a common or uncommon. But the reason why I keep it in the deck and haven't just completely cut it is because at 10 Dawn, if you don't have a 10-drop Big Mom, you can drop an 8-drop Katakuri from hand and then play out the Kid Katakuri, playing another 8-drop Katakuri at your 10 Dawn turn, or if your opponent has 10 Dawn at that point. So that's why I like running this, because you run the risk, well, you run the chance of being able to play 2 8-drops in the same turn. So I think that alone is enough to run it, and it is searchable in the deck. So having 2, you're gonna at least see it once. Hopefully you see it, when you need it. That's the goal. Our next card is Zeus. So Zeus is another 2k counter, 2 cost, 2k power, 2k counter. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Pay up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Again, serves a very similar role to Flampe, where if for some reason we get stuck with a card flipped up on our life and we can't ramp efficiently, we can play out Zeus relatively cheap to not only take the flip card from our life, but to also remove something potentially on our opponent's board. And then our next one, which this is primarily just because it's an alt art that I had in the deck. Well, this is just something from the collection that I didn't necessarily want to sell off, so I'm choosing to keep it because I think it looks cool, is going to be Beiji. Beiji is still probably top 5 2k counters, trigger cards. I know there have been some really strong stuff, but generically this is still one of the strongest 2k counters. Just a lot of people have moved away from it, especially because it's from block 1. So obviously it's going to get rotated out whenever the time comes, which is sometime in April, April 1st, somewhere early April. So that's only what, a month or 2 away, I think. Yeah, about a month and a half, 2 months away. But regardless, this is the Capone Gang Beiji. The 3 cost, 3k power, 2k counter, trigger. Up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters cannot attack this during this turn. Obviously, if this is towards the bottom of your life and your opponent has swung out with most of their characters, you can freeze their last swing for life. And infamous, notorious card, very early One Piece. People were raging, were begging for this thing to get banned, and it just never did. And now it's been in the game so long that we've kind of moved past its power level, but still easily probably top 5. Only reason why it's top 5 and not top 3 is because people have just moved away from it. I'm pretty sure if more yellow players played it, it would probably end up creeping back up to top 3. As far as the top 3, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I think the Gorgon Sisters from the new Boa deck is probably somewhere in the top 3 at this point, as well as some other trigger cards, but we're not gonna worry about that. What we are gonna worry about though is one of the reasons why I'm choosing to keep this deck in rotation, which is going to be because of the homies, for specifically Linland. So this is Prometheus, 3 cost, 3k power, 1k counter, activate main. You may rest this character up to one of your Charlotte Linland characters, gain double check during this turn, and then it has the trigger, play this card. So a lot of times you want to be pretty careful just randomly playing this out, because if your opponent has an idea what you're trying to do, which is pretty obvious, they're going to try to either remove this or, paying 3 Dawn to basically just have a body sit there and take up space for the majority of the game is not something you want to do. So you kind of want to hope this is in your life. But when the time comes and you get a 10-drop Big Mom out, it feels so good having not only this, but then also having the Zeus in the deck as well, which is a 3 cost, 3k power, 1k counter, activate main. Rest this character up to one of your Linland's cards, gain banished during this turn, and then it has the same trigger. So obviously getting both of in, as you can see right there, you can see the art for Big Mom. Big Mom's right there with her 2 homies. But we got one more homie to talk about. But yeah, double attack, banish. If you can get these to actually be on the board with your 10 drop, devastating. Devastating for your opponent. And then the last piece, the trifecta, to actually make this viable is the Hera. It's a 5 cost, 3k power, 1k counter, activate main. You may trash one of your homie type characters other than this character and rest this character. Set up to one of your Charlotte Linland characters as active. So a little, not exactly the same as the other 2 homies, but what is nice is that your first attack, obviously you're going to be attacking with Charlotte Linland, ideally with both of these on the field. Well, not the first time you attack with Charlotte Linland. You play Linland out, then you try to follow up with these characters, and then after that you try to play Hera, which then you would end up sacrificing Prometheus, because double attack is slightly worse than banish in my opinion. Obviously if your opponent has 10 life, keep the double attack because you just have to burn through their life as fast as you can. So yeah, this little trifecta of cards, there are only 3 ofs, and that's 9 slots in the deck. So it's really difficult to be like, it's hard because that's 9 less cards that you get to play with and that are just, you know, eating slots in the deck and that are just sitting on the board for way too long and sitting in life waiting to get played out. But they're 1k counters. It's a fun strategy, and I don't think it's like the end of the world. I mean, this deck's getting rotated out, so it's not the end of the world that the deck is just a little silly, which is what I like about this deck. I've always had like some weird, because before this I had the egg engine, the what's the name of the Baron? That chicken egg rooster card where, you know, I was running that before I was running the homie engine. So I've always kept this deck somewhat like casual, despite having, you know, turbo ramped into Big Mom. But either way, one of the ways we can turbo ramp into Big Mom is with this category. It's a 6 cost, 7k power, 1k counter. On play, you may turn 1 card from the top of your life face down, add it to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck, and set it as active. So another reason why we want to be taking flipped cards from the top of our life to our hands, because this will also ramp us an active Dawn. Once we actually have, if we still have a flipped card, this will flip it down and then ramp us to do so. So again, major synergy, searchable, big body, you know, difficult to interact with, and you get it out relatively quick if you manage to ramp twice with your pudding. And then our next card is going to be Charlotte Pudding. Speaking of pudding, is going to be a 7 cost, 5k power, 1k counter. On play, Dawn -2. If your leader is Big Mom Pirates type and your opponent has 6 or more Dawn cards in their field, draw 2, then play 1 Big Mom Pirate card, type character card with 6k power to 8k power from your hand. So obviously this is the other card that we're going to be using to ramp into our 8-drop categories. And potentially we could even, no, yeah, we could get to this one. We could also get into the rush category if we wanted to, but primarily we're trying to use this for the 8-drop categories, the blocker, or the yellow removal one. On top of that, it's a little rough to go Dawn -2 because that's going against the strategy of pudding. But to get like a big body out a little bit faster, I think it's worth it. I only have it at 3 because, again, you don't really want to be going Dawn minus in this deck, but I really can't deny that that's a card worth running in the deck. Our next one is going to be category. Speaking of another category, 8 cost, 8k power, no counter, blocker. End of your turn, set up to 2 of your Big Mom Pirate type characters with a cost of 3 or more as active. Then add to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. So running this at 3, should be running at 4, but you know, 3 is okay. Searchable, you're gonna see it at some point. This is just generically good. This is just like good yellow or good purple stuff, because you get a blocker that restands itself, and in this deck can restand something else. And on top of that, you then at the end of your turn get to ramp a Dawn. So even if you did go Dawn -2, this kind of does help restore some of that, because then you get, instead of being a Dawn -2, it kind of becomes a Dawn -1 with this. So it's not the end of the world. And then our next one, the reason why I'm running this at 3 is because I have this at 3, and that is our other category, our other 8-drop category that is also yellow and alted. This is the primary reason why I'm also keeping this deck together, is because I've said this multiple times, but this is my favorite card from the One Piece game. This is probably the thing that got me into the game, was this category art. It is by far my favorite, and it's, even to this day, I don't know if there's been another alt art that has dethroned this one. There are some good contenders out there, but overall, I think this is just this is just pure badass. This is just the card that I like to look at. It's very cool. It's very funny. It's just a ripped shirtless man, but regardless, I like the card. I think it looks cool. Either way, category is an 8-drop, 8k power, no counter. On play, add it to 1 character with the cost of 8 or less to the top or bottom of its owner's life cards face up. So this is good because it is not only removal for your opponent, but it is also life gain for yourself. If you wanted to gain, if you wanted to put like a Beijing, which I mean, Beijing should never be on the field, by the way, so that's probably a bad example, but I guess if you wanted any of the homies back in life, you could use the category to put it back in life. You could also use it to put a 2k back in life in case you need a 2k in hand at some point when your opponent goes for game. If you need a pudding, you can bounce the pudding back to life, take the hit, and then next turn play pudding out to play another 8-drop. So either way, like, this is probably one of the better cards. Primarily it's because it is a removal card against 90% of the opponent's stuff. Only thing you're not going to be able to remove is like the Gorosei, and then other cards that protect characters from getting removed from the board. But this will basically get around KO effects and most protection spells. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Next one, again, the other whole point of the deck is Charlotte Linlin. This is our 10-drop. I didn't choose to alt this out because honestly, I don't like the alt for Charlotte Linlin, and the SP exploded in price. So instead of being like 50 bucks, it's like $80+ now. So I'm not buying that. You know, that's a lot of money for a card that is rotating out. So Charlotte Linlin is a 10-drop, 12k power, no counter, on play. If your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, then trash up to 1 character from the top of your opponent's life from the opponent's life cards. Okay, there we go. So basically, 10-drop, you heal 1, and your opponent trashes 1 life from their life cards. Yep, had to double check. But yeah, big tempo swing. Like, especially nowadays, when you're playing One Piece and you're playing the 10-drops, you very rarely want to play a 10-drop unless it is something that is that game warping, where not only are you healing, but your opponent is losing a life to it. So this is one of the few cards where it's like, it's justifiable to play at 10 because all your defenses are down. At 10 Dawn, if you play a character for 10 Dawn, your defenses are all down. So you need something to like significantly swing the tempo in your favor, which I think 10-drop Big Mom is exactly the card that does that. And then our next one is going to be our events. Playing 2 Divine Departures. This is a 0-cost event that is basically better than the other ones that are available to us. Even better than You're the One Who Should Disappear, arguably, because this is like an aggressive card. This aggressively goes against your opponent's board. And the reason why we have a 0-cost event in here and not like slow beam, which would be the better choice between the two, is because we have a lot of just dead cards in our hand that don't we want a bunch of Big Moms in our hands. We want a bunch of Katakuris in our hands for the end game. But until we get to the end game, we need a way to like cycle them out so we don't immediately die on crackbacks during the early to mid game. So Divine Departure, main, you may reverse 5 of your Dawn cards. If you have any Dawn given, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 8 costs, 8,000 power during this turn. So the first part of this is basically a pseudo 6-cost event, but in the new set, we have a Dawn Krieg coming into the meta, and Dawn Krieg attaches Dawn to your characters. So essentially this goes from a 6-cost Dawn. This goes from a 6-cost Dawn event to a 5-cost because the Dawn Krieg is actively putting Dawn on your characters. So that makes this slightly cheaper to play out and makes it much easier to swing into your opponent's stuff. And then of course, when you're not trying to swing into your opponent's stuff, you can keep this as a counter, 0-cost counter card, where you trash one of your dead events or one of your dead characters. Like if you have like 4 Big Moms and you don't need 4 Big Moms for some reason, you can trash it to the counter event and give your leader or your character 3k power for the turn. So really useful. And then of course, our last one is kind of the last thing to help search out other cards in the deck, which is going to be, we're going to claim the One Piece. It's a 1-cost event that searches for Animal Kingdom Pirates and Big Mom Pirates top 5. Fit one of them into your hand, then put the rest of the ball in your deck. This is basically just 4 extra copies of pudding. Just a way of searching out more Big Moms, more Katakuris. And then our last card, of course, is going to be the Dawn, the Mochi Katakuri Dawn. Honestly, one of the funniest Dawns they've ever printed in the game. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, but arguably one of the best Dawns in the game. If they made it gold, I think that'd be even better. But yeah, this is just a cool deck. I like this deck a lot. I'm completely fine with it going out of rotation. I'm still gonna be playing it. Obviously, I'm not going to be going to any tournaments with it, any legal tournaments with it. But yeah, so there's the pudding deck. Obviously, it's not the strongest pudding deck because you probably want to be running like slow beams. You probably want to be running Mr. Chews, Uso Hachis. What else? Those are the major upgrades. Actually, if you wanted to replace these 9 cards, I would literally replace it with the cards I just mentioned. Get yourself Uso Hachis, get yourself, what did I say? Uso Hachi, get yourself Mr. Chews, and then get yourself, what was the third one? I'm sure there's some third card that you can add to the deck that you would definitely enjoy other than the homies. I'm gonna put the deck up. Here it is. But yeah, that is the pudding deck. So that's about slightly less than 30 minutes. And that's like 30 minutes. That's like 28 minutes with the wait screen introductions and then like explaining myself with some of these cards. So I think if it's going to be about 25 minutes to 20 to 25 minutes, we should be able to do all the decks in one go. But if not, obviously I'll save the standard legal decks for another stream if we don't end up getting through them. Our next one though is going to be my mono black Navy Luffy leader. This is, what is it, ST14 Luffy. And I forgot, I was gonna look up the artist. I'm gonna see if I can quickly look up the artist because yes, I have the leader, but I also have an art card that came with a bunch of leaders I recently got. Oh, my voice. I don't know why I've been hoarse. Let me see if I can quickly find him. He's a Brazilian artist. Where is he? No, this is not what I'm looking for. Where are you? Because I know it's something like, it's not mint. I know that. But it's something adjacent to mint. Oh, where are you, buddy? There it is. Memes. Mimzosora. Mimzosora is the Brazilian artist. He does, not only does he do art cards like this, he also does leaders, proxy leaders. So I have a couple of proxy leaders that I think I have here, but I'll show off if I don't. He also does like stickers for One Piece. He does other animes and other things like that, but I've been following him closely for a lot of the One Piece art because I really like how this looks because, like I said earlier, come on, why am I losing my voice now? There we go. Still got something in my throat, but I'm fine. So this Luffy, I'll quickly talk about the Luffy leader before I talk about the art card. So Luffy, 5 life, 5k power, mono black, attach 1 Dawn. All of your characters gain +1 cost. If you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, this leader gains +1k power. So this is, in my opinion, one of the best leaders for the mono black Navy engine because of the 8 cost Garp that was printed, I think in EBO 2, if I remember right. We'll look at it in a minute once we get to that part of the deck tech. But yeah, this art card really represents what I want to do with this leader, which is basically play Luffy, but also play a Navy engine with it. So maybe in the future, I'd love to get this as a custom art leader, where it's basically the same exact text as this Luffy, but I add the Navy typing. So it would be Straw Hat / Navy instead of, you know, just Straw Hat. And that would obviously be a unsanctioned leader. That would just be that would be cheating. It would be a custom art leader or custom leader. And I don't think it's like the end of the world because this is also like a deck that's going out of rotation as well. So I don't think it would be the end of the world if that just ended up happening. But on top of that, I also wanted to show off not just the Dawn, but this little Gamegenic foam divider. These are super useful, especially if you have freshly sleeved decks. Like if you have a fresh sleeve deck, this is a great way to get air out of the sleeves while also keeping the deck safe. You don't have to put like books on top of it or do anything weird to your cards. It's just like you sleeve your decks, you put them in the deck box, and you shove this in, and this puts soft, even pressure across the whole card, across the whole deck, and they end up like, you know, slimming out pretty well. But beyond that, I want to just quickly show you the custom Dawns that I got. which is just from the One Piece anime when Garp went to go save Kobe. One of the impact frames was this, and if I have never seen a Dawn card in the anime, this would have been it. Like, well, did I say that right? If there was a Dawn card to be made from the anime, I would want this one to be made from the anime. This is basically like 90% there, and it looks so good, especially as foiled. I don't know if the foil comes off on camera as well as it should, but this looks so good in person. I love the way this came out. I'm so glad I got them in foil and that it works so well. This was originally for the Garp deck, but this has basically just gone into every Navy deck that I've built since getting the cards. And then I just have the Dragon Shields as well. So we'll go through the Navy pile. Again, like I said, this is an alted out deck, mostly alted out, but we are out of rotation with this. Obviously with the Suru is getting rotated out. It's a 1 cost 0k power 2k counter. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2 costs during this turn. There is our first card. But also in general, like, cost-based removal has just kind of fallen out of favor. It hasn't been popular since the introduction of, I would say since the introduction of Blackbeard. Blackbeard did kind of put, like, you know, a pin in cost removal because they would turn off on plays, and like 90% of the Navy removal package is on play. So I mean, it's still not a super strong strategy, but it is a strong one if you're not playing with if you're playing other decks that are not built to protect themselves from it. But either way, brand new, 2 cost 3k power 1k counter on play. Look at the top 3 of the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Navy card other than brand new and add it to your hand, then trash the rest. So with the 8 cost Garp wants to see a bunch of Navy cards in the trash. Brand new will not only search us the Garp, but will then also fill up the trash for Garp to use later on in the game. So super synergistic, exactly what we're looking for. I'm gonna let you know right now, if I had room for the Searcher event, that would also be in this deck. But instead of having the Searcher event, I did choose to go a slightly different direction just for the health of the deck, so it can still compete even if your opponent is running protection cards. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But our next one is Tashigi, is a 3 cost 4k power 2k counter. Active main, you may rest this character, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2 costs during this turn. This is primarily a way to keep consistent cost removal on the board, or cost reduction. It is risky because it can get swung into, like, it's a 4k power, it's pretty weak. It's not going to survive most swings, and I wouldn't even recommend saving it for most swings unless you think you need it for the next turn. Like, if you need that extra cost minus 2, I would recommend saving it. But otherwise, I usually let it go, especially if it's early on in the game. I'll let it go, especially if I'm like trying to combo it with the next card, which is just Brook. Of course, this used to be Kobe, but Kobe ultimately had you go card negative at hand, and Brook was just more consistent with not only an on play but with a when attacking ability that KOs characters. So Brook is a 3 cost 4k power 1k counter on play / when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1 cost during this turn, then give up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. So may seem worse because I believe Kobe, the 3-drop Kobe, can KO a 3 cost, but you're going a card negative with that, and it's only an on play, where Brook can stay consistent. Like, it can consistently cost reduce and remove at the same time. So that is why Brook has stayed. That's why Brook kind of ekes out Kobe, in my opinion, just because of that. Our next one is going to be Hina. Hina is a 3 cost 5k power no counter on play. Give up to one of your opponent's minus 3 costs during this turn. This is pretty situational, which is why it's at a 2 of. So I'm choosing to play it at 2 because it is situational. It is playable with Rebecca, but a cost minus 4, we can get that with the next card. Like, obviously the Kuzan is able to do the same thing, but when attacking. And you would already have to have like a card like Brook or Jack on the board to really make use of this with Rebecca. So it's a 2 of. I like the art, so that's why it's going to stay in the deck. Otherwise, it would probably be a Helmeppo, but I do like this at 2. I think the art looks sick, so that is enough to justify its inclusion in the deck. Our next card is going to be Kuzan. Kuzan is a 4-cost, 5k power, no counter, but it does have an on-play of drawing 1 card, so he replaces himself as soon as you play him. And then you go card positive if you end up playing... well, no, you don't go card positive. You still go card neutral with Sengoku. So regardless, you're always cycling cards. You're always fixing your hand with this. And I like it because it also has a when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4 cost during this turn. So obviously, for 1 extra Dawn, you get to consistently do a Dawn -4, but you do have to survive a turn with this Kuzan, which it's kind of where the issue comes in with this card, where it's like it has to kind of sit there on the board and just hope that no one messes with it. I wish it was an on-play / when attacking. I wish this was basically like a similar Brook effect, where we can do a when attacking and on-play cost -4. But I feel like at that point, it would then become, you know, an auto include in every cost removal black deck. Even without the counter, it would still be an auto include. But I like the art. This looks sick. And again, it synergizes with the deck. It synergizes with Sengoku. So this is the primary target for Sengoku 90% of the time. I think, yeah, like 99% of the time, Sengoku is usually pulling this out, if not pulling out brand new. But our next card is probably one of my favorites, is Rebecca. This has been like a staple in the majority of black decks. It's pretty rare that you wouldn't want to play this. However, a lot of black decks have moved away from this Rebecca, and it's fine. I understand. It's like not a relevant blocker because it's a 4-cost, 0k power, 1k counter. The 1k counter is about the only thing that is stat-wise useful about this blocker, because 4 cost is very interactable. Like anything can either remove or rest it. 0k power, anything can remove or rest it. And then its on play is, again, the only other thing about this card that is like very valuable. It's like the main reason you want to play this deck is the on play ability. You add up to 1 black character card with a cost of 3 to 7 other than Rebecca from your trash to your hand, then play up to 1 black character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand rested. So the reason why Rebecca is that, the reason that effect is so important is because you get to filter out your trash with basically almost everything in this deck. So if you need a 2k counter, you can grab 2k counters. You can grab the Kuzan if you need the Kuzan. You can even grab the Brook or Hina into your hand just to play it out with the Rebecca ability, which then they both have on-play abilities of some sort of relevance. Our next one is gonna be another card that has like some pretty badass art. This is T-Bone. T-Bone, I'm so glad he got like, he's been done justice here. T-Bone was an actual Chad of the Navy. Like this dude was like pure of heart, and they murked him. Well, he murked himself essentially. I'm not gonna go into the story of T-Bone, but T-Bone was an absolute Chad of the Navy. Very unfortunate that he got basically murked. Very, you know, not early on, but like during, I think it was the two-year time skip. I believe he passed away. But either way, T-Bone, 5 cost, 5k power, 2k counter on play. Give it to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. This is not only another 2k counter, but it is a form of removal. If you're running low, if you don't have rooks, or if you don't have your other big bodies to remove things, this in an emergency can help you remove things on the board. But I wouldn't necessarily rely on it. I just think it looks cool. Again, the dynamic of these two characters, amazing. Our next art is gonna be Sanji. And this, I would have loved to alted this out. The alt of this card looks so good. It's so upsetting. But unfortunately, the alt of this card, the SP for Sanji, is like 150 bucks now. And I think it used to be 50 bucks. And I mean, in hindsight, I probably would have paid 50 bucks, but I didn't, because $50 is a lot to ask for a card. So, and this was basically not playable and still kept that $50 price tag on it. So even at 150, I still wouldn't pay 150 or 50 for it now. I mean, if you know, this deck exists now, so I would pay 50 now, but no, it's 150 now, so I'm not doing that. But either way, Sanji is a 5 cost, 6k power, no counter on play. If you have a character with a cost of 6 or more, K up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. There you go. So this is like tempo removal. Obviously, we haven't really talked a lot about the leader, but this is one of the first cards where the leader ability is relevant, because on your 6th Dawn, you can attach a Dawn to Luffy and then play out the Sanji. Luffy will see Sanji, making it a 6 cost. Then Sanji will see itself as a 6 cost, KOing a 5 drop. So that is the synergy that I'm really a big fan of in the One Piece game, is that specific synergy. On top of this one, also the Garp is basically a very similar card, but just more expensive. And our next one is going to be Sengoku. Sengoku is a 7-drop, 7k power, 1k counter, blocker. On play up to 1 Black Navy character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. So a lot of issues with this card, but the art looks so good. It looks so much better than the default art. I really like the way this looks. Very cool. Nowadays, I'm not a big fan of Sengoku. I like his design. I'm not a big fan of his character. But I can't deny the art of this. This looks so sick. And it does work fairly well in the deck. The only downside is that it only pulls out Black Navy cards and it plays 4 or less rested, which is so rough. Because, you know, pulling out only Black Navy cards means that you're not going to be able to rely on it in the Kobe list, because Kobe has red Navy cards. Playing Kuzan out rested is just asking for it to get removed. Even though it's a blocker, it can block for Kuzan. Your opponent wants to get rid of this. So you're gonna basically have to give up Sengoku the majority of the time if you want to keep Kuzan on the board, because your opponent will be gunning for this once they realize how strong it actually is. But regardless, I think it's a good card. When and if Gecko Moria does get rotated back into the Eternal format, I would consider replacing these 3 Sengokus with 3 Gecko Morias, just because you get a little more value out of the 8-drop Gecko Moria, but it's currently still banned. I'm pretty sure once Block 2 gets rotated out, they will unban Gecko, which would be the time to then look at upgrading and changing that out. Our next card, I'm gonna need to put this somewhere else, is gonna be Jack. So Jack, huge body, massive body, still plays with the Luffy leader, because at 7 Dawn, well, let's read the card. So Jack is a 7 cost, 8k power, no counter. This character gains +4 cost. So by default, this is an 11 cost character, and basically means that Luffy's ability will just by default be on with this guy. Oh, hang on. All right, we good? I think we're okay. I think we survived. All right. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the internet. I did see that we dipped a little bit, but yeah. Jack, by default, turns on the Luffy ability by being an above 8 cost character, and then it has an activate main. You may rest this character, draw 1 card, and trash 1 card from your hand, cycling. Then KO to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. So this is one of those consistent pieces of removal on the board, just like the Brook is, but significantly bigger body, much harder to remove, much harder to deal with because it's an 8 cost. But the majority of the time you're going to be resting this to remove something, cycle out cards from your hand, and take you into the late game. So auto include for most cost removal decks, I would definitely say. And then the next one is probably the card I've been talking about the most, is Monkey D. Garp. This is not an alt because this is mostly just personal preference. I actually really like the art of the standard Garp over the alt art. Like, and the thing is, the alt was done by a very famous, like a very liked One Piece artist. So for me not to get the alt is a little surprising. And I might in the future pick up the alt art, but I think the goal for now is to keep the art I like, which I prefer the art of this Garp over the alt art, but the alt art's not that crazy expensive. It's like $5. So in the future, I will very likely just pick up the alt art just to have the mostly alted deck. But Garp is 8 costs, 8k power, not great stats for an 8 cost, but it's somewhat relevant. It's because it has an on play. You may place 3 Navy type cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order and give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to one of your leaders. Then, if there's a character with a cost of 9 or more, pay up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less. So, a lot of hoops to jump through. Except, this leader does it. This is my GOAT. He does everything this character wants to do. So, obviously, he's gonna recycle cards from your trash back into your deck, which is good because obviously, you know, you don't want to deck out. this deck does not deck itself out. You tend to have a problem. Like, one of the biggest issues with the Luffy list is that it has a hard time filling up the trash, which you think would be an issue, or you think wouldn't be an issue in black, but it kind of is because of the cards I have in the deck. But regardless, if you can meet the conditions, you're refilling your deck. Then obviously you're giving Luffy a Rest of Dawn at 8. So then Luffy then pushes this 8 cost to a 9 cost, which then Garp, of course, sees a 9 cost on the board and then KOs one of your opponent's 7 cost, which, you know, obviously with cards like Suru, Tashigi, you know, Hina, you know, whatever you have on the board that reduces your opponent's card. I mean, also the next card that we're going to be looking at is Ice Age, which pairs very well with this. You're basically getting rid of a 10 cost with no protection. So if your opponent does not have protection for their 10 costs, they're getting hit with this. So I'm playing this at 4. This is such a good card. Very good tempo removal deck. And then of course we're gonna be looking at the events, which the last events are gonna be the 2 Ice Ages. I'm running 2 Ice Ages because I can't think of a way to run more. Just because the next card I think we need 4 of. But if you wanted to replace the Hinas with an extra 2 Ice Ages, I wouldn't blame you. I think that is arguably the better move here, is just to get rid of the Hinas for Ice Ages once these become legal. These are not legal right now. As of the recording of this, these are not legal leaders, or this is not a legal card in a deck. This deck only gets played if I ask my opponent if I can play it, letting them know what the deck is trying to do. I do let them know that this is an Eternal format deck that is already playing Ice Age before rotations happen. So you have to let that be known. So not legal deck because we're playing a ban card until April 1st. But yeah, Ice Age is a 1 cost. It has a 1 cost event. Main, give up to one of your opponent's characters -5 cost during this turn. That's the primary reason why this card was banned. Giving something -5 for 1 Dawn is incredibly efficient. Probably one of the most efficient cost removal decks or cost reduction cards. It has a trigger, give up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. That's probably a little less relevant. Why is my character freaking out? There we go. Give it a second to pick me back up. Okay. But yeah, again, ban card for an exact reason. Ban card because it's incredibly efficient for a deck that is based on cost removal. Will be unbanned when rotations happen. So that is another reason why this is going to be a Eternal format deck. It's not going to be a standard legal deck. So I want to make sure that's out there. So the reason why I'm not running the I want to be a Marine Officer Searcher event is because I replaced it with Ground Death. The reason I'm not running more Ice Ages is because I'm running 4 Ground Deaths. I think if you're still trying to do removal in the game of One Piece, you need this card. You can't function without this card if you're going to actually do cost removal stuff, because Ground Death has that main ability. So Ground Death is a 1 cost event. It has a main of you may rest 2 Dawn cards, so it becomes a 3 cost event. Negate the effect of up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less during this turn, which most things that protect the board tend to be cheaper than 5. So if your opponent has something that protects the board, chances are it's going to be 5 or less, which will be very useful, especially also against the Gorosei. A lot of I think the blockers for Gorosei, no, I think Mars is a 6-drop. No, is Mars a 6-drop? I think Mars is either a 5-drop or a 6-drop, but I believe this can hit Mars if I remember correctly. But even if it can't, you can still reduce Mars down to 5, because again, reducing a character's costs is not removing it. You know, cards like Jack, Garp, and Brook are removing the card, so you can reduce any character's costs to meet the requirements of this Ground Death. So for 3 Dawn, it's kind of a lot to ask for, but being able to hit everything again kind of brings cost removal back into the game, in my opinion. And then we have a counter, which I wouldn't necessarily rely on the counter event in this deck particularly, because this deck has a hard time getting to 10 cards in the trash. It can do it, but you have to be really working towards it. So it has a counter. If you have 10 or more cards in your trash, up to one of your characters or leaders gain plus 4k power during this battle. So this is primarily being run for the main effect. So we're running this for the negate the effect of a character to then remove it later with one of these other cards. It gets expensive, but it's at the very least, it's an answer to board protection, in my opinion. So there's the entirety of the deck with the Dawn. Again, I love this leader to death. I think this is a very fun technical deck to play. Very unfortunate that most of the cards here are going to get rotated out. And then obviously playing Ice Ages guarantees that this is going to get rotated out. But I still enjoy the deck immensely. If you can convince an opponent to play it with you, you'll have a very fun time. I don't think they will, but I did. And yeah, I'm still going to be trying to alt it out. Like, other than the Garps are going to be easy to get my hands on. It's the Brooks. Oh. Come on. Sorry. I'm just waiting for this thing to restabilize itself. Stupid internet. Hurry up. Let's see if we can. Are we back? Looks like we're back. All right, you better stay connected, you stupid internet. All right, sorry about the lagginess. I've been trying to do this video for like the past 2 days, and my internet provider has been fighting me the entire way. Has been guaranteeing me that I have not been able to stream consistently. Part of the issue is internet. I've been hoping that that it wouldn't be a big issue, considering I'm doing it much earlier than normal, but obviously, you know, the devil doesn't sleep, so they're gonna shit on my internet whenever they can. But yeah, there's the deck. I am extraordinarily happy with it. I love playing this deck. It's one of my favorite, which is why I'm choosing it to keep it like this. I don't think there's going to be a time when I don't have this deck put together, or at least I would be very surprised. The only chance that I change the deck is once the new black Straw Hat cards come out, which, I mean, they're going to be coming out like what, in a few months for us in the West, I believe, because they're coming out in OP15, I want to say, which is for us like going to be in a few months with the rest of EBO4. And yeah, then that's when I would probably end up just buying another leader, because I thought about, well, maybe I could switch it to Smoker. Smoker is not as cool as Luffy as a Navy removal deck. Not even Lucci, I would argue. Lucci is the premier black removal deck. I mean, Sakazuki as well. But the way this deck functions, oh, there goes my headphone. The way this deck functions, it works so well it's a well-oiled machine with this leader at the head of it, and it would be very difficult to get something else in its place. All right, next one. If we can actually do it, it's gonna be buggy. So we're about nearly an hour into it. We're gonna see if the internet stays connected long enough for us to do the whole deck, because I think we'll be able to do the whole collection in one go if the internet wants to cooperate with us, but we'll have to be a little bit quicker. So, of course, everything, accessories and everything are all going to be the same. Make sure that I pull everything out with the deck. Let's talk about it. Go. And then this can sit off to the side. We have, other than Dawn, I really like the Dawn. These are the foil Dawns from the Premium Set 2, I believe. And it's a little hard to see on camera, but it is foil. It has like sun rays in the Dawn font, which honestly I really like the font that they use for Dawn. It looks really cool. It looks very ornate. It's a very ornate font that they used. And then obviously the nose is also very shiny, and I believe the background is foiled normally. Yeah. So yeah, I love these Dawns. They were pretty difficult to get my hands on because I was able to find all 10 Dawn in person, but it was within a span of like 4 or 5 months. Well, about like maybe 5 months is a little exaggerating, but roughly 2 to 3 months it took me to find all 10 Dawn in person, just because it was really difficult to find, because on TCG Player there's like each seller has like 1 maybe 2 of these foil Dawns, and they're selling them for like they're selling them from like $3 to $5 each. If you find them in person, they tend to have more copies in person, and you can tend to negotiate a lower price if you have trade or if you know the vendor really well. So that's what I did with my Dawn. So I would highly recommend that. Here is the Buggy leader. Buggy is a 5 life leader, 5k power. Activate main. You may rest 5 of your Dawn cards and trash 1 card from your hand. Play up to 1 cross skill type character card from your hand. So, also something to mention, Buggy is a slash type character, which is relevant against Mihawk. It is funny how that worked out, where a lot of people say that it's not on flavor. I would argue it is on flavor because yes, Buggy is immune to Mihawk's attacks. That does not mean Mihawk is weaker than Buggy. Mihawk, if anything, is effective against Buggy, but because of his Devil Fruit, it makes it his natural counter. But I could, and then also like the dynamic of the cross guild. The cross guild dynamic is Mihawk and Crocodile run the cross guild, and they bully and and harass and mutilate Buggy as their captain. They have no respect for him, as far as we can tell. That might change in the future, but who knows? But I think it is on flavor. It's a little unfortunate that small little change at the top, and again, the reason why he's a slash character is because he has daggers. Buggy, when fighting, Buggy does use weapons. He does use weapons. He uses cannons. He uses his Buggy Ball cannon, but he is like a axe wielding, dagger using pirate. So he is a slash type character, and it's unfortunate that the Mihawk leader does counter the Buggy leader, but I think it is on flavor. I would argue it is still on flavor, but regardless, Buggy, if you didn't know, is one of my favorite leaders. Right next to Luffy, I would say he's like easily top 3. He's probably number 2, honestly. Buggy is probably number 2 right now. Number 3 is probably Rocks, but that could change in the future. Loki is like top 5 right now. Yamato is, I think, one of the top 3. It would probably switch between Rocks and Yamato as the third favorite. But yeah, Luffy and Buggy, easily top 2 favorites. So I really like Buggy. Do I have? Oh yeah, I do have an art card. There's the art card from the same artist as well. I really like this art card. I would love to get this as a leader as well. Like if this was the Buggy leader, I think this would work really well as too. But this is just like the Cross Guild wanted poster. I believe this is, I think it's the Buggy wanted poster. I don't remember. I know it's like their flyer. I know that much. There we go. And we'll put the Dawn off to the side over here as we look at the deck. So starting off, as you saw, we have Mr. 3. Mr. 3 is our deck. Oh, also, this deck is out of rotation because we're playing the Impel Down engine as like a quick thing. Impel Down slash, what is it? Baroque Works. So we're playing the Baroque Works Impel Down Cross Guild engine in this. And one of the main reasons why is because the Mr. 3 can search out the Baroque Works type. So we can look at the top 4, look for Cross Guild or Baroque Works, other than Galdino, and add it to our hand, place the rest of the bottom of our deck. So this deck kind of unlocks the strategy, or this card, this searcher, unlocks the strategy of having the Impel Down engine, which is basically a swarm list. I will say some of the downsides to Buggy is low hand size, which, funny enough, the Impel Down engine does slightly fix, not cure, but fixes it. Our next one is Alvida. Alvida is a 4-cost 5k power, 1k counter. If you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, this character gains +1 cost. So if it fulfills the 5 cost requirements for the 10-drop Buggy, and then it has an on play. If your leader is Buggy, draw 3 cards and then trash 2 from your hand. So again, we're getting to cycle out cards from our hand. It gets us to dig deeper into our list. I wish there was something we could do with the trash with Buggy, because Buggy fills up the trash really quick. Like, I mean, he's not as fast as Emu and Crocodile, but he's like one of the fastest trashing characters, or trashing leaders. He fills up the trash very quickly, unintentionally, and it's very hard to build against that. So I hope that in the future, if they come back to Buggy and the Cross Guild archetype, we are introduced to the trash manipulation effects, because man, we get a lot of cards in trash unintentionally. So our next one is Kabaji, is our 2k counter, 4 cost, 1k power. If you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, this character gains blocker plus 1 cost, yeah. So similar to Alvita, but it gains blocker, and then on your opponent's turn, this character gains plus 5k power. So this is, out of your 2k counters, Kabaji is probably the one you want to play the most, where he gets a cost bonus, which then plays into your 10 drops ability. He becomes a blocker that gets bigger on your opponent's field, which is primarily what you want blockers to do anyways. You don't necessarily swing with blockers, but when they are above 6k power, it makes them far more useful to block out with. One of the tech cards for the deck is Sabo. Sabo is a 4 cost, 5k power, 2k counter. If your character with a base cost of 7 or less other than Sabo would be removed from the field by your opponent's effects, you may return this character to its owner's hand instead. So again, a little redundant because we are playing the Mihawk. Well, we're playing the 8-drop Crocodile and Mihawk card, which is also a board protection card, but it is nice to have both of them out on the field so that you can guarantee that your 7-drop buggy doesn't get removed, because this will protect our 7-drop buggy, and the cost requirement to protect it is a lot less than the Crocodile and Mihawk, because Crocodile and Mihawk wants you to trash things, versus Sabo. Sabo is the 2k counter that just bounces itself back to your hand for protection. So that's why I'm running it. It's only at 2, so you're not really relying on this super heavily, but it is nice to have backup protection for your board. Speaking of which, we have Charlie Pudding, something that a lot of people know or are very aware of. Always, whenever a ban list is brought up, Pudding is usually at the top of that list. I'm running it at 2, but Pudding is a 4 cost, 4k power, 1k counter. On play, your opponent returns all cards in their hand to their deck and then shuffles their deck. Your opponent then draws 5 cards. So this basically resets your opponent's hand. It is pretty important for specifically Emu. If you're going up against Emu and they're about to get the 10 Dawn, you have to play Pudding. If Pudding is not in your hand before 10 Dawn, before your opponent's 10 Dawn turn, you're kind of out of luck. So another reason to run this at maybe 3, I would argue. Another reason why you also run Pudding is for decks that are very greedy with their hands, because a lot of decks tend to have over 7 cards in hand, or they want to get over 7 cards in their hand. So Pudding punishes players that are greedy and refuse to counter out. And then Pudding also, which is probably the thing that a lot of people don't like about Pudding, is that when you're going for game, before you go for game, you can play Pudding out, reset your opponent's hand, and more likely than not, they will not be able to redraw the sculpted events and 2k counters they had in their hand. Very likely, you would have gotten rid of some game-winning piece from their hand, or some protection, something to protect them from losing the game with a Pudding. So that's a lot of the reason why people talk about banning Pudding. I argue that Pudding is very healthy for the game. What is the unhealthy part about Pudding is that it's only a blue card. This is one of those cards where if it was like a music card, like a music event card, I think it would be a completely fair card, where you give it to every single color, you put it into the music category so it's not searchable, and you turn it into an event where it doesn't have counter and it's not a potential swinger. So those are the different things. That's what I think they can do to fix Pudding. If they did end up banning Pudding, I would not be like upset. I would actually just replace this Pudding with Love Love Mellow instead. But yeah, great card. Literally no reason not to be running it in any blue deck. Okay. Blah. All right, Crocodile is a 5 cost 7k vanilla character. The main reason why we're running this is because it is searchable with the former Baroque Works archetype, and it's also playable with the Impel Down type. So we're only running this out of 2 of, just for synergy's sake. And I mean, it looks cool too. I love this art of Crocodile. So I think it works really well for both the cross-skilled Crocodile. It works great for the 7-drop Crocodile, and it works great for the 7-drop Ivankov. So because of those reasons, I think keeping it at 2 is important for the deck. Our next one is Mr. 1 Dazbones. Is a 5 cost, 6k power, 1k counter. The first ability is locked to Baroque Works leaders, which Buggy is not. He's a cross-skilled 4 Emperors, so we can ignore that part. But the on-play is draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. So again, we're cycling cards from our hand, going card neutral, which is nice when you play a body out and then you get to draw a card and then draw an extra card to trash a card. So I guess card neutral, card positive, something along those lines. It's one of the two. It's good. It's good card draw. And it is again playable with our 7-drop Crocodile. Our next one is going to be a 2k counter, which is 5 cost. It's Mr. 2, 5 cost, 5k power, 2k counter. Attach it on when attacking. The effect, I'm going to be honest, is not relevant to the deck because the only thing that's important is the same thing that is important about this, is that it's Impel Down and former Baroque Works, which Baroque Works is searchable in our deck, and the Impel Down part is playable with our Ivankov. And then I believe it's also playable with the 7-drop Crocodile as well. So this is primarily a synergy piece that's a 2k counter and doesn't do much else than that. Our next one is Dracula Mihawk. 6 cost, 7k power, no counter, blocker. On play, draw 2, then trash 1 from your hand. Adjacent to Mr. 2, but has blocker, but no counter, and is only cross-skilled. It's playable with our 7-drop Shoe Buggy, but that's about it. It's good to have. I think the art looks sick, and it's nice to have both Crocodile and Mihawk in the deck. And then our next card is going to be another piece. Inuzuma. Inuzuma is a 6 cost, 7k power, 1k counter, end of your turn. If you have 2 or less cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. So, early on, this was primarily just something for Ivankov to play out because it has the Impel Down type. However, the more games I played, the more cards I have, the less cards I have in hand. So being able to refill my hand at the end of turn has been like a godsend for this deck in general. Because as you can tell, like, I'm going to be like, spoilers, there are no events in this deck. This is primarily leaning heavily on the 2k counter and the 1k counter package. And I only have 10 2k counters in the deck, so I really have to rely on my card cycling and my drawing abilities. So Inuzuma really helps with that. But you have to remember, at the end of the turn, to check your abilities, you know, we're not playing on the simulator, we're playing in real life. So these triggers you have to keep track of, which I've missed. So that's why I'm saying it out loud. Our next card is the 7-drop Crocodile. 7 costs, 7k power, 1k counter. On play, play up to 1 cross-skill type character card or character with the type including Baroque Works with the cost of 5 or less from your hand. So this is just a way to flood the board. This is the primary strategy of the whole deck, is to basically swarm the board with big bodies, which then you can cheat out for 5 Dawn. So 5 Dawn, you play out the Crocodile to then play out basically any of these 3. You're probably not going to play out Baroque Works, but or Mr. 2, but you're going to definitely play out Mr. 1 and Crocodile with your Crocodile. And then with the next card, this is Emporio Ivankov, 7-drop, 7k power, no counter. On play, draw cards so that you have 3 cards in your hand. Then play up to 1 blue Impel Down type character card with the cost of 6 or less from your hand. So similar ability to Crocodile, but instead of doing the Baroque Works cross-skilled, we are now doing the Impel Down, which is basically going to be Crocodile, Mr. 2, and then Inuzuma. As far as I can tell, that should be it in the deck for these guys. But yeah, again, another Swarm deck. These are the 2 cards that make this whole deck work. So without any of these cards in hand, you're kind of out of luck. You're able to play Crocodile out on 5, and then you're able to play Ivankov out on 7. So by your 1, 3, by your 3rd turn, no, by your 4th turn, you should already have a board full of characters. You should already have 5 characters on the board. So when you have your 10 drop, it should be pretty easy to play your 10 drop out. That's the goal. That's, Magical Christmas Land. That is what you want this deck to do. Another card that a lot of people love to hate is the 7-drop buggy. Chew buggy is a 7-cost 8k power. This is this character cannot attack, which not a huge deal, but you know, a little unfortunate. If your leader is buggy, all characters with the cost of 3 or 4 cannot attack. Really good against aggro decks. Obviously, this basically neuters the Rayleigh deck right off the bat, and any low to the ground aggro deck is then hit by this. And then also keep in mind, it's not base cost, it is just its cost. So there's a new Ivankov that got printed recently. No, it doesn't reduce cost, but if they ever added cost reduction to blue, oh boy, guess who you're gonna see a lot of? You're gonna be seeing a lot of this guy, but thankfully the range is pretty tight, so it has to be a 3 or a 4 cost. So you have to be like a sniper on what you want to reduce if they ever make blue reduce cards. But anyways, on play up to 1 cross-guild type character with the cost of 6 or less from your hand. 99.9% of the time it's just going to be Mihawk, which is great because not only do you play a relevant body, but then you play a blocker out, so you're getting good swarm tempo out of that. So if you're not playing Crocodile, you're probably going to be playing out your buggy, which then will play out your Mihawk. And then another very useful, I'm only playing this at 2, by the way, not only because I only have 2 pre-release winners cards, I only have these 2, but because I want to focus more on this strategy more so than this strategy. So that's why I'm playing this at 2 and I'm playing these at 4. So in case you were wondering, that's why this deck is built the way it is. Next one is Crocodile and Mihawk, our main form of protection on the board. Hello? Okay. Hello? What is wrong with this thing? This thing has been giving me nothing but grief. Stupid thing. Look at me. Anyways, this is Crocodile and Mihawk. 8 cost 7k power, no counter, on play. Draw 2 cards and then trash 1 card from your hand. Then play up to 1 cross-guild type character with the cost of 4 or less from your hand. That's gonna pretty much just be Alvida or Kabaji. Either one of these cards would be fine to play off with this, but you know, Alvida more so than your Kabaji. Kabaji is a 2k counter, you kind of want to keep that in hand, but this would not be a bad thing because it is a blocker that does become a 5 cost on the board. And then the main reason you're playing this is because the 1 for turn ability. If your cross-guild type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may trash 1 card from your hand instead. Good board protection. Not as effective as the Sabo. Sabo's slightly better, but this is not cost. Has no cost restrictions. So as long as it's a cross-guild, it will be able to protect it. But your Impel Down engine will not be protected. That's kind of where Sabo comes in. So keeping that in mind, our last card is, of course, the boss monster, the big man himself, Buggy D-Clown. The 10-drop, 12k power, no counter. On play, place up to 1 of your opponent's characters at the bottom of its owner's deck. Then, if you do not have 5 characters with the cost of 5 or more, place this character at the bottom of its owner's deck. So, obviously, a lot of things with this card. So, this is the main reason why we're doing like a swarm strategy in the deck. By the way, these are the last 4 cards of the deck. We have no events in this deck. If Pudding does get banned during this ban rotation, whenever bans come out, if Pudding does get hit, this is basically going to become Love Mellow. But again, Buggy, not character locked, not type locked, not anything locked, but it is so inefficient to play out Buggy that it's basically locked to the Buggy leader. Because Buggy can play this out for 5 Dawn. Buggy very likely will have plus 5 cost characters on the board by the time you get to your 10 Dawn turn. And your reward for jumping through all the hoops is you get a red rock that is in rotation for another, another year? Is this a 3? Yeah, it says 3. You can't see it, but it's 3. So this is going to be around for like 2+ years, roughly 2 years in rotation. So this deck's not going anywhere anytime soon. Again, one of my favorite decks, one of the cheaper decks to ult out in the game. So because obviously the Mihawk, Crocodile, Ivankovs, they're all like below $10 each. So if you like Buggy as a character, this is like the deck to get because this is dirt cheap to put together. The only thing that might be difficult to get your hands on are going to be the buggies, the shoe buggies, and probably maybe this crocodile might be tough to get your hands on, but I don't think it'd be that expensive. And then of course the Dawn. The Dawn, not as hard as the Gold Dawn to get your hands on, but would be difficult to buy 10 copies right off the bat, because most people have like 1 or 2 copies on TCG Player. So keeping that in mind, I think if you wanted to alt out your first deck, Buggy is the perfect candidate. Of course, like puddings. I don't have alt art to puddings. These I think are tournament packs puddings. The only alts for pudding are the SPs. And as you know, in this game of One Piece, SPs are like close to over $200. Most of them are going to be like 150 to 150 plus dollars. So I don't recommend buying SPs if you're just playing the game casually. But you know, it's nice that we get like tournament packs which have alt arts, sort of. So pseudo alt arts for tournament plays, which is my preference. I'm fine with that. As long as it's not the base art, I'm usually okay with picking it up. Or if it's from like an illustrator binder or something, I'm a big fan. Either way, that's Buggy. All right, our next one, which hopefully we'll be able to do everything, is the Yamato deck. This is what got me started on the whole journey. Definitely, again, like I said, very likely top 3 characters until like, no, I would say still top 3. I mean, I said Rox is going to be top 3, but you know, we've only seen like this much about Rox's life. Granted, we haven't seen a lot of Yamato, but we know Yamato's story at this point. And Yamato came first, so I immediately gravitated. I wonder what pulled my attention on Yamato. Either way, this is the Mana Moon deck box, leather deck box that they have. Here are the dice that I run with the deck. I forget the brand that these came from, but they're like, I think brass or bronze or something. And then here's a different leader. Let me see, can I find the artist name? Yeah, Paper Dawn. So for the Yamato leader, I'm playing with the Paper Dawn proxy leader. It looks really good. It has the raised engraving and obviously the foil treatment. As you can see, it has like a bunch of different textures, but the art is so cute. I think Yamato, this has been the cutest art of Yamato I have seen, and who knows how many moons. This is great. I think this sums up the character really well, in case you didn't know. And then of course, I mean, okay, for reference, this is the other side of the leader, which is the Japanese card. But obviously I do have the main leader, but the leader is just on display. So I have the leader. If I wanted to play a standard legal version of the leader, I would just pull this out of the display case. But I am choosing to play this version, which is Japanese exclusive Yamato art. This is not from the EBO2 set. This is from specifically a toy line that did a collaboration with One Piece TCG to make the Yamato, Bonnie, Luffy, Zoro, I think there's a Sakazuki and Koala that's coming out soon. So this is in collaboration with a toy company. They make little toys. I can actually show you if you give me a sec. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. Probably a little bit dusty, but this was the toy that it came with. It's basically like a glorified McDonald's toy, but as you can see, it's basically the same exact art as this Yamato. They're doing the same pose. There you go. And then it has the leader ability printed on the base along with the official back. But yeah, I ordered this from Japan before like we got annihilated with tariffs, so there's not a lot of these floating around in the US, but I love this art. This looks so much better. I mean, I really like the EBO2 art, the gold foil or the gold text EBO2 Yamato leader, but honestly this has been like my pride and joy. I love this card so much. I love the art. Dawn did such a good job capturing the scene with Yamato when they're talking to Ace. and talking about dreams and all this kind of stuff. I forget the exact thing they're doing in this scene, but it's such a cute, such a cute pose for Yamato. And this is just really good art. If I can't get the EBO2 gold text leader, then this is like easily second best. Like it's my favorite. So there's that. We'll put Yamato right there. And then of course here's the deck box. Here are the dons that I'm running. These are from back when I started the game. These were the first dons that I bought for the game, were just Yamato dons that I got off of eBay. The English ones are extremely expensive, so I'm glad that I was able to pick these up for a reasonable price. Back in the day, I don't know what the cost is now. And they're actually legal now, so even better. Granted, this deck is not going to be legal, but at least the Don are legal. And then the actual list. Also, here are the dividers for the deck that came with the deck box. And then try to, as carefully as I can, pull the deck out. Put this away somewhere. Oh, I put the deck. There you go. Okay. So, and also, like, if you wanted to see, like, up close, there's the engraving for the deck box. That's what it looks like from all the sides. And then here's a close-up of the actual art, if you were so inclined to look. There you go. That's the entirety of the art. Love this deck box. Super happy that I got it. A part of me wishes it had a display window for the leader, because I don't get to see the leader a lot. I get to see every other leader except the one that I like the most. But, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I know worries. Our first card is going to be the Searcher for Yamato. Is the Yamato Searcher. 1 cost, 0k power, 1k counter. Attach 2 Don. Your turn. Oh, actually, I should read the leader. Because the leader is pretty easy to understand, but, you know, maybe you don't know. So, Yamato, 4 life leader, 5k power, double attack. Activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, give up to 2 Rested Dawn cards to one of your characters. 2 cards to one of your characters. Yeah, so not your leader, but your characters. Just making sure I remember and let everyone know what's going on. So Yamato, so synergizes with the leader. Attach to Dawn. Your turn. This character gains plus 3k power, which then becomes a swingable body at 5. On play, look at the top 5 of your deck. Reveal 1 land and mono type card with a cost of 2 or more added to your hand, then place the rest of your bottom of your deck. Very similar to the Pudding Searcher, but a little more useful. And I believe all of our characters are searchable with this Yamato. No, not yet. Not until I get the new EBO3 Yamato. Because I'm currently, and I'm also thinking about running Hody Jones again. Hody Jones is in the list, but he's getting replaced with the new art Yamato. So, Otama is a 2 cost, 0k power, 2k counter, activate main. You may rest this character, add up to 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Up to 1 of your leaders or character gain 3k power during this turn. Trigger, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Great card. Very aggressive, especially for a leader that likes to swing aggressively. The next one is Hiyori. Hiyori is a 2 cost, 0k power, 2k counter. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life card area to your hand. Add up to 1 card from your hand to the top of your life areas. This is here not only because it looks amazing, but because we're trying to do the you're the one who should disappear combo, where you heal, you put it at the last of your life, you trigger the ability, and then you heal. So it's like pseudo 2 life. So Hiyori plays into that strategy. Searchable 2k counter. Super great. Our next one is Onami. Onami, not searchable. I wish it was, but it's not. It's a straw hat. But I would argue this is better than the, what's his name? Inazuma? There is a card that is basically the Nami that is within archetype, but I would argue this Onami is stronger. So Onami is a 2 cost, 3k power, 1k counter. On play, up to 1 of your leaders or character cards gain banished during this turn. Huge in the deck, because giving your leader double attack and banish, monstrous, especially late game or mid to late game. You definitely want to be gunning for stuff like that. Trigger. Pay up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Relevant trigger. Really good trigger. And sometimes catch your opponent off guard if you trigger this out of life. Still completely playable. Also, the art is amazing. I love the art. This is the base art of the character. So this is the standard art of the character, but they've changed the background to something more pastel. I think it works a little bit better than the more busy background that they had originally. And then of course it's a extended art or extended border. So I think it does work and fit the criteria that I'm looking for in the deck. Technically an alt art, but not overpriced for especially for a Nami card, not overpriced. Our next one is Nekomamushi. Unfortunately, this card is gonna get rotated out when I get the chance to. My God, is this thing like gonna keep acting like a butt? Give me but a moment. This stupid thing keeps acting like a butt and it like refuses to just work. Because I see it like, I see my character constantly like freaking out in the corner. And I just need this to like just work. So give it a moment. And then, come on, wake up. All right, are you guys stop acting like a butt and actually work with me today? And also the internet. Everything is working against me today. My God, I just want to get this done. I just want to get this done. I'm tired of putting this off. Nekomamushi, 4 cost, 5k power, 1k counter. Attached to Dawn, this character can also attack opponent's active characters. Trigger: if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card. So this still works with the deck. If you didn't want to play the new Yamato, there's a new Yamato in EBO3 that I'm choosing to replace with this. I think this arguably could still be better, but I'm choosing to replace because again, I want to play with Nami decks. I want to play like, or I want to play with a primarily Yamato heavy deck. So that's why I'm choosing to replace this Nekomamushi with the new Yamato that's out. When I get my hands on it, it's not crazy expensive, so I don't feel bad picking it up. It's just, you know, finding the time or waiting for it to show up in stores. So Kikunoju is a 4 cost, 6k power, 0 counter. On KO, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, add it to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. Trigger: if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card. So again, synergizes really well with everything that's going on. Chances are your opponent's going to be at a very low life total, and then being able to trigger this out. This is just like an MVP in yellow. You normally want to be playing this. I'm choosing to play it at 3. It's searchable. It doesn't have counter, and you're going to see it. So I think at 3, it is fine. And getting a 4th copy would be a little expensive, but I wouldn't mind. But I think at 4, or I think at 3, it works just fine for the deck. Our next one is another Hiyori, 4-drop Hiyori. Something that you don't normally see in most decks, especially at 4. Like, I'm choosing to run 4 of these. So normally if you do see this, you see it at like 2 or 3. I'm choosing to run it at 4 because of the next, not the next card, but the 5-drop Yamato. There's a 5-drop Yamato that can take pretty good advantage of this. So Hiyori is a 4 cost, 0k power, 1k counter, activate main. You may rest this character. Play up to 1 Lanawano type character card with a cost of 5 or less other than Hiyori from your hand, then draw 1 card. So card neutral, plays a card from your hand, just gets a character out a turn earlier than you would expect. Or if you're on the odd curve, no, if you're on the even curve, you can get an odd curve card out sooner. Instead of being able to play a 4-drop, you can then play a 5-drop. So that's the primary reason we're playing this. Here is the Peach Momo Yamato, 2k counter Yamato, 5 cost, 4k power, rush. On play, look at all your life cards, place 1 at the top of your deck and place the rest back in your life area in any order. So really bad card. I don't think there's any leader that really wants to be doing this. However, it's a Yamato card, it's a Peach Momo card. Out of all the One Piece artists, this is like, Peach Momo is like a top tier artist to be making cards for One Piece. Their style of illustration, like their art style, meshes so well with the One Piece aesthetic, I think, in my opinion. Especially this Yamato, like, just works so well. This is some of her best work, in my opinion. I love the background. I love the way they've rendered Yamato. I think Yamato looks great in this style. Overall, a good card. Again, for a Yamato-centric deck, I think this is a must-have. Even if it's like a bad 2K counter, even if it's a bad character, it's still a 2K counter. So it has synergy. But the card we're playing out with Hiyori, primarily 90% of the time, well, 70% of the time, is this Yamato. This is from block 1, from set 1. This Yamato is this from set 1? Yes, OP01. So even from OP01, I know a lot of people like to trash on OP01 for having, including me, I trash on OP01 for having screenshot art, but this came from the first set. This is like top tier secret layer alt art. Like, this is so good. So they were cooking back in the day, like even when they first started this whole game. Oh, come on, man. Are you kidding me? What is going on? Stop. Are we good? You good, homie? What is your issue? What is your damage? Stop it. Stupid thing. But yeah, this Yamato, like, they were cooking back in the day. They knew what they were doing. At the very least, if they were going to save their artists, they saved them for the alt arts, which I think was important. So Yamato, 5 cost, 5k power, 1k counter. Also treat this card's name as Kazuki Odin according to the rules. It has double attack and banish built in. So monster of a card. Still, even though nobody's playing this card in the current day and age, this still demands respect on the board. Like, you play this out, your opponent has to deal with it before you start to swing in for big numbers. Between the leader and this, you're putting unnecessary stress on your opponent's life. Well, necessary for you, unnecessary for them. They would rather not deal with this, which is why we're playing it. Our next card, the other card, 25% of the time you want to play out with Hiyori, is your Momonosuke's. Your 5-drop Momonosuke's. These are blockers, 5 cost, 6k power, no counter. Blocker, on play, add up to one of your Land Wano type characters other than Momonosuke to the top of your bottom of your owner's life cards face up. So primarily we're aiming for like Otama. We can get Nekomamushi, we can get Kikunoju, we can get, I was gonna say Onami, we can't put Onami there. But the majority of our characters that we play out, we can put back into life with Momonosuke. So Keels on play, is a blocker, and is playable with the Hiyori. And the art honestly looks so sick. Not necessarily like Momo looks cool, but his background where you see like his like effigy of his dragon form looks so good. They did such a good job with this art. I think it looks sick. And it's like a $5 or $6 alt. I would definitely recommend it. Speaking of which, our next card is going to be another Momonosuke. This is from the starter deck. We're playing this at 3. Oh, I thought we were playing at 4. We're playing this at 3. I think in the updated list, we're going to play this at 4 because we replace... we'll replace a couple of cards. I'll tell you what cards we replace once we get to them. But Momonosuke, 6 cost, 7k power, no counter, your turn. If you have 2 or less life cards, your leader gains plus 1k power, which is important in the current meta to be a 6k leader. Just because you're fighting against other 6k leaders, so it's pretty important to up your own life or up your own damage. Activate main once per turn. You may return 2 total of your currently given Dawn cards to your cost area rested. This character gains rush and 1k power during this turn. So with the leader ability, you how does this work again? Because I know there's a way to make this work. Because you're using your leader ability to give 2 rested Dawn to either to another character. Or you can return, yeah, you would have to, it would be, oh gosh, it's been so long. But yeah, basically you use Yamato's ability to give like your other Yamato 2 Dawn, swing in, then you play out your Momo, you return these 2 Dawn that were given back to the cost area to then give this rush and 1k counter, becoming an 8k. And then like it's a lot of little hoops to jump through, but the deck does work really well with this Momonosuke. So well that I would argue that you could cut the Hody Jones, which is ultimately what I'm going to be doing. Hody Jones is going to get pulled out of the deck very likely because of this Momonosuke. It's so good. Speaking of Hody Jones, for the moment, this Hody Jones is in the deck because I haven't gotten my hands on the new Yamato deck or on the new Yamato cards, which is basically going to be replacing the Nekomamushis and one of these Hody Jones. Also, this Hody Jones is also going to be changed into a Momo as well. So that's what the deck is going to look like once I get the new Yamatos. But regardless, this Hody Jones, I would even argue you could probably still keep in the deck, and it would still probably be better than potentially Momo. I would argue that Momo, it's tough. It's either Momo or Hody Jones. Momo is slightly better because it does turn your leader into a 6k leader, where Hody Jones is a massive body that rests your opponent's Dawn, which against green, resting your opponent's green, resting a green leader's Dawn is more impactful than it's been in any other format. So this might still work its way back into the deck. I'm not sure yet. I would have to bring this deck out of retirement. I would have to play this deck again, because I haven't played this deck in a while. It's been a hot minute since I played Yamato, because it's primarily just a collection piece at this point. But yeah, Hody Jones is a 7 cost, 8k power, no counter, rush, on play, rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn cards, then add up to 1 card from the top of your life to your hand. So this is primarily pushing for game. You are pushing for game. You're going to be resting either your opponent's blockers or you're resting your opponent's Dawn, and you're going to be using leader ability to attach Dawn to your Hody Jones to then swing in for 10k, 5k, or however much extra Dawn. You have like what, an extra 3 Dawn, so 8, 10. Your opponent, if you can't win with that, then you're not going to be able to survive the clapback, in my opinion. So there's Hody Jones. Our next card is a 1 of. It might turn into a 2 of, but it's good for now. It's gonna be a 1 of, and it's gonna be the Yamato. This Yamato is also getting rotated out, but honestly, the reason why it's a 1 of is because I love this art of this Yamato. I used to have this in the deck as a 2 of, or no, I had a play set back in the original deck tech of this Yamato leader, but I wasn't a big fan of the original alt art. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for whimsy. I'm looking for joyous Yamatos, because while I do like the more like serious, like this, I would argue is probably about as serious as of a Yamato that I like. I really enjoy it when Yamato smiles, honestly, because they look like they're having a good time, and that's how I see the character. So Yamato is a 9 cost, 9k power, 0 counter, on play, K up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the total number of yours and your opponent's life cards. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. So this is really bad removal because it's going based off of your life and your opponent's life. But to get the second ability to activate, you have to be at 1 or less life. So it means your opponent, at best, to get both abilities to pop, you're gonna be KOing like a 3-drop to a 5-drop at best, if you're trying to proc both abilities. So for a while, this was yellow's best answer to removal other than Katakuri, and this is not very good removal. This is primarily because I really love this card. I love the character, I love the card, so I'm choosing it to run it at a 1 of. 2 would be, I wouldn't run this at 2, but I think for the deck, having 1 of is fine. Our next one is the whole reason why I'm choosing to replace the Hody Jones is Dead Man Game. Dead Man Game, we are running at 3. So what is it? Let's read the card. Hold on. Demon Aura 9 sword style Asura Blade drawn Dead Man's Game. So everyone calls it DMG, Dead Man's Game. It's a 1-drop event. It has a main of, you may rest 3 of your Dawn cards, so a total of 4 Dawn to play this effect. Rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn cards. So again, the Hody Jones ability for 4 Dawn is way better than paying 7. However, for 7, you're getting a rush body. For this, you're just resting their Dawn. So I would argue this seems to be the better option at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's also a 3k counter, but it's just for your leader. So that's why, you know, I would maybe run this at, no, I think 3 is okay, because it's a Straw Hat card. It's not searchable. So you want to eventually see this in your deck. So running it at 3, you're very likely to run into it at least once. And realistically, if you're going for game, you want to at least do that once. And obviously, for Dawn, that leaves you with a lot of extra Dawn to swing in with your leader and swing in with your other characters. So that is why I think it is better than Hody Jones, but Hody Jones is still worth running in the list at a minimum of like 1 or 2. And then our next card is You're the One Who Should Disappear. This event is only here because of Hiyori, because Hiyori can put this at the bottom of our life, which then would heal us again, so giving us an extra chance at living. Obviously in the new set in OP15, this whole strategy gets changed with the addition of Porcelino, and then these get switched out for the 1-cost event, I Rayquaza Help. If you want to run a more everyone's trying to bother me. I'm trying to get this done. But yeah, if you want to run a different version of this, you probably want to switch it out for OP15. But this is a pretty streamlined version of it, and it does kind of get rid of the bricks in your deck. You know, the few bricks that you do run in the deck, this does filter out. So that's why I would run it. But there's the Yamato deck. One of my favorite. I love this deck. This will definitely always be in my collection to some capacity. Even if it does get rotated out, which it is going to get rotated out. The cards in here, you know, there are just some cards in here that I just don't want to change. Primarily, the cards I don't want to change are this Yamato and this 9-drop. So I want to keep them in the deck, and those are the reason why this deck is not getting rotated with the new set. We have 3 more decks to look at, and we got like roughly 20 minutes. I think for the sake of my sanity, I think we should wrap it up here and do another stream next week where we look at the decks that are in standard. So these decks were out of standard. I wanted to get these out of the way, I guess, just so that, you know, these are documented, but, you know, not kept, you know, they're not like meta relevant. These are not meta relevant decks. These are decks that are going to get rotated out fairly soon, and they're not the most optimal versions of these decks. They're just decks that I really like. And next week we will come back at some point, probably next Friday or sometime next week. We'll come back and we'll look at the remaining decks. So there you go. Those are 4 decks that I cherish a lot. Out of all of them, Pudding would probably be the one that ends up getting out of this list. But I mean, again, I really like this Pudding list, so I can't see myself changing anything about this. So these decks are probably just going to stay the way they are, and I'm really happy with them. So next stream, we will be looking at the standard relevant decks, these little idiots that I hate, and that specifically this one. This is the lady that is the most expensive, which on character, on brand, Nami being the most expensive deck to maintain in the current meta. But these are the 3 that are in rotation. These are the 3 that will stay in rotation as far as I'm aware. Everything in them is from block 2 and above, so I'm not too worried about these decks. These are the ones where I'm like, I've come to just realize that, you know what, I like the way they are, and unless they make changes to the archetype, I probably will keep them like this. But anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Sorry for all the little hiccups we dealt with today. It was difficult to get just this part of the video out. I'm happy that I got to do it and that it's done, that this part of it's done. Next time, it's going to be a little bit faster because we only have 3 decks. And those 3 decks, you more or less know what the list looks like for them. So next time, it will be a little quicker. But these, I had to kind of do a slightly better explanation for them, because not only are they not legal to play, but are also going to be playing cards that are out of rotation. So I figured I give them more time than before. And plus, I didn't have enough time to do the other 3 decks. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and love you and leave you here. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out with me and spending time with me. I will go ahead and catch you in the next one. But until then, no one else is on right now, so no need to raid. So yeah, I'll catch you later. Goodbye. Adios. Sayonara. C'est la vie. Adios. So, I don't think there's anything else I can think of. And my stupid camera. just refuses to look at me. I hate this. But anyways, bye. Bye, 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 bye.